before we call the meeting to order. So we got a second here.
I'm really sorry. I just took a bite of a Sour Patch watermelon thing. They're my weakness. There's a handful of people.
And Twizzlers.
And Twizzlers if anyone was in the meeting yesterday. There's an email that went out to a handful of folks. If you had picked chicken and dairy, and you need dairy free, and if you put that you need soy free for your luncheon, you should have gotten an email, 20 minutes ago from me. Find me. We have a meal ticket, an extra meal ticket for you. So, my phone number's everywhere. It's also in the email. So you can text me, find me, just to give you an extra ticket to help you tomorrow. So that was my big announcement. Thank you.
Go have another Sour Patch Kid. All right, so without further ado, we're going to call this business meeting to order at 5:06. 6:06. I'm sorry, my computer says Central Time. Sorry. But anyway, we want to go ahead and start our meeting. You should all have access. I'm going to go over just a couple of housekeeping items before we go on with our business. But you should all have access to the reports, the agenda, all of that in Guidebook, your best friend for the weekend. We are going to be recording this meeting, and it'll be shared with the community, which has become practice in the GLR. So just know that if you do want to address the group, we ask you to come to the mic on the floor or the mic on the stage, just so that we can make sure that everything is accessible in that way. And also, we will be using Robert's Rules of Parliamentary Procedure, because that's what's in our bylaws this time. But I wanted to let everybody know that this will guide us during this meeting, but we also will be fluid with that and agile as needed with the agenda. Our agenda will flow over or move over into tomorrow. So what we don't get to today, we'll go through tomorrow as well. And there might be some things that are on the upper part, the early part of the agenda that might get moved if someone's not here, or vice versa. So just be flexible with me with regards to that. So as we look at the agenda, the first thing that we will do is have an approval of the agenda. And I think Allison's going to pull that up for you, and you can access it on your phones as well. If you're going to make a motion, I do ask that you come to the microphone on the floor and state your name for our secretary, Miss Amy. Where is she? Right there in the front, taking notes for us. So just to go ahead and state your name and a motion. That way we have that for the minutes. So, an approval of the agenda. As you can see, the agenda has a lot on it. As I joked around that I have never written an agenda that has this many Roman numerals on it. So I had to kind of think about my Roman numerals a little bit. But anyway, I will take a motion for approval for this agenda.
Morris, I move that we approve the agenda.
Thank you, Stephanie. Mary Strict has a second. No, you're good. I got you. All right, so as a reminder, all that our AMTA members have voting, the ability to vote in the GLR. And so all professional, all of our AMT members, anybody who would like to vote to approve this agenda, please raise your hand. We'll just do hand votes. Okay. And we'll lower hands. Anybody opposed? Seeing no hands, anybody abstaining? Looks like we have an approved agenda. Thank you for accepting and approving this fluid agenda. So going on to an approval of minutes. You have access to that in the guidebook as well. And she's just pulled up our meeting minutes from November 17th. That seems like a long time ago. Anybody else? November 17th, we met via Zoom. And those minutes are there for your approval. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Mia Krings, I motion to approve the past meeting minutes.
Thank you, Mia. And do I have a second for that? Second. Mary Strick. I like this. She's super close to the mic, but she's just going to raise her hand. You go for that. All right, all voting members in favor of approving the minutes as they are written. Raise your hands. All right. And we'll lower hands. Push the button, lower hands, like on Zoom, right? All opposed? See no hands. Any abstentions? Looks like they're approved. So going on to our next bit of business here, I wanted to share with the community a statement of support. And this I wanted to read out loud, and you'll see it on the stage or on the screen as well. But this is a statement that was written with our DEI committee at the GLR level, a statement of support for our LGBTQIA plus community. There are dozens of anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ, and anti-drag performance bills being presented and passed in states around our country. As music therapists, we know the importance of exploring identity, and along with many, many organizations linked in the statement, stand in support of people in all stages of life, moving through the world with authenticity and support. Government intervention will not change the existence of LGBTQIA plus people, but it will endanger the lives and joy of people we love, people we serve, and dear colleagues. That statement has been posted on our social media outlets as well. It is in Guidebook. The AMPAS organization is also spreading that, and I appreciate you giving the time and space for us to share that statement. Thank you. So one of the things that's come up in strategic planning is that we really don't know who all is attending business meetings. It's difficult for us to have a pulse point on whether or not we have a lot of students attending, we have a lot of professionals attending. So pull out your phones for a second, go ahead and use the QR code. And this is a very simple way for us to check in and gather some data. Do we have people that this is their first time they're coming? Have they been here so many times they've lost track? Go ahead and take a minute and do that for me. Thank you for participating in that. That'll give us some great data as we're making goals for the future. The way I see it, we connected last night. We built some community as we made our list, which, by the way, is over 500 people now today, which is great. And today, right now, we collaborate to make things stronger. So those are our 3 C's. So thank you for doing that. So moving along, I just want to go ahead and give you a little bit of an update from the president's viewpoint. The list of things, what was that? Oh, can we put the QR code back, please? It's up. Thank you. There's been a lot that's been happening, obviously, and on different fronts and different initiatives that we have going on in the GLR, but I wanted to kind of give you an update on some things that have happened and things that we've been working on. So since we met last in November of 2022, I've had the chance to organize and discuss and run several board meetings for the executive committee. That group has probably met more times in this last term than they have ever met, and I think they are to be commended for the time, often late in the day, after a full day of work, after putting kids to sleep. So I just want to do a big shout out to that group for the time that they have given in those meetings. There's also been AMTA meetings that I've attended, assembly meetings, general business meetings, and then really working to kind of maintain and keep going the dialogue that's been ongoing with the other regional presidents. All of us are getting ready to wrap up our terms as regional presidents, and I cannot say enough and emphatically enough what a wonderful sounding board we have been to each other, just in uncharted times, right? And kind of how do we best help our regions and guide our regions? And so that's been really helpful to have ongoing communication with them, some emailing and some Zoom calls and things like that. So just a really, really nice way to collaborate with each other. Also, last fall, you might remember that I started publishing the GLR 5 for Friday notices. Is anybody getting those? Raise your hand, let me see. Yes? Do we like them? Yes, no, maybe so. So the 5 for Friday is designed to just kind of be a quick little blurb for you in your inbox to say, okay, these are 5 things. If I want more information, then I can just click here, right? So we have just started using MailChimp to distribute that rather than the Gmail address because we were getting some spam back to the GLR address. But now we're just kind of tightening up our policies or procedures with what we do with that. So as we keep going, there's been a lot of online discussions with the presidents, as I mentioned, conference planners, the GLR DEI committee, along with President-elect Todd Schwartzberg and I have met a few different times. So there's been a lot of collaboration. We have started publishing and sharing the recordings and feedbacks from committee meetings that happen, and so those have been shared with the community. We've been collaborating. A lot of kudos and many, many, many thanks to our GLR treasurer, Lindsay Wright, who's up here in the front for her many hours as we worked to collaborate and put all the GLR documentation together for Arrow bookkeeping and figuring out the nuances of that new relationship and guiding ourselves through that. Also providing consultation to the VP-elect, Allison Gunning, as she gets ready to, she vetted the conference venue for next year. We also just recently created a GLR-wide community calendar, which I'll give you the QR code to later. I'm really excited that this is going to be a community-wide calendar that will be on the website regularly, and it'll be something that any community member can put something on if it's a continuing education opportunity within the region. State organizations can share their meeting dates. Any GLR business dates in terms of meetings and things will be listed on that calendar. So we're really looking at another way to engage with the community that they can use that. I accepted some resignations from some very, very dedicated volunteers who needed to step away for various reasons. Many have just been in the position for a long time and might be looking for something new. But I do want to recognize them if they're here. Annie Heiderscheit on the research committee, if she's here. Nancy Swanson, government relations, is here. Many thanks to you. She was a rock star in Illinois. You know. Woohoo! Laura Powick was on the Interprofessional Collaborative Resource Committee. I don't know if Laura's here, but we thank her for her time. Kay Smith from Minnesota is stepping away from the Association Internship Approval Committee after many, many years. And Anurati Jane, which I realize there's a misspelling on Anurati's first name. I apologize for that. She stepped away from the DEI committee at the end of last year as well. And then with all of those openings, we gathered and disseminated information for a call for service. So you'll see that as well later on in the report. So there's a lot ongoing. I'm on the way out the door to a different role in 24 hours. But there's a lot to follow up on. So continue to follow up and engagement with the regional presidents and the executive board. There's been a lot of transparent communication in recent weeks and months from AMTA giving us feedback and updates and videos and membership lists and things like that. So that's been really helpful to have that collaboration happening. We've been, as I said, creating those 5 for 5s. That's going to continue, I believe. And then there's also been some continued work with the mentoring committee, a membership committee, and the communications committee, all the GLR level that are going to be kind of coming to life in these next few weeks and months. And then obviously strategic planning, which you're going to hear about very soon. Continued collaboration with DEI committee. You're going to hear more about those initiatives from Chelsea. And working with the assembly representatives and the delegates and the alternates and making sure that we're all set for meeting attendance, things like that. It's one of the most fun jobs these past couple months has been getting ready for the 70th GLR anniversary. Did you all hear the playlist? Did you see the playlist? So this hot off the presses, Mary Strick and Laurel Rosen-Rutherford and I presented this afternoon, and we asked the participants to answer the question, what song describes the GLR right now? And it was such a fun list, such a fun list. So I was like, we should make a playlist. And Laura was like, yeah. And so we did. And then I was like, Allison, can we play it? And she's like, yeah, all right. So we might make it like public so you can add to it and you can have their 70th GLR playlist. Yeah, there's some good stuff on there. Okay, so then also continued collaboration and consultation with GLR President-elect, who is obviously going to be stepping into this role tomorrow, and he's going to be awesome. But there's just been such great collaboration there, and he has been we've just been working side by side on a lot of things. And finally, organized some roundtable discussions. If you were up bright and early and got the free coffee, it sounds like there was a good student intern turnout. Special thanks to Bernadette Skodak and Rebecca Barnard for their help with that. We had the new professionals roundtable, which was new this year. That was based on the feedback that we had received in the strategic planning survey, that new professionals wanted more opportunities to interact and engage. There were about 35 of them. I had the pleasure of being in that room today. So much great energy and so much resilience. We figure these folks had become our colleagues probably within the last 4 years, and obviously during the pandemic and all that. So much great energy. It's exciting to see, and some great things that I think we can work on as a region to help them and support them a bit more too. So special thanks to Ellen Winsky, Faith Lilo, Nicole Keller, Michaela Marquez, and Kate Eister for participating in that panel today. Also arranged for an ethics roundtable. That's something else we received feedback in, that we wanted to have more ongoing roundtables centered around ethics topics. And Ann Hannon, Jan Schreibman, and Debbie Bates all facilitated that today. And that, I can tell you, is something that will now be occurring regularly and quarterly within the GLR. There'll be an ethics roundtable. So that is exciting to see. And then the last bit is obviously a lot of collaboration with the Historical Committee from the Strategic Planning Group. There are so many people to recognize at our business meeting tomorrow. It's super exciting. I signed lots and lots of certificates today, so that's neat to see we have so many people to recognize. And also collaborating with the GLR past presidents. I think we have 9 or 10 of them in attendance that will be joining us for the luncheon tomorrow, and it's going to be great to honor them as well. And finally, and last but not least, I did go ahead with the committee's approval. I created a GLR ad hoc committee, and I want to make sure I get the title correct because it's long. We need an acronym for this one. GLR Music Therapy Education and Training Resource Committee. And the charge of that group is to provide regional support and resources to universities, clinical training supervisors, internship directors, and supervisors. And so Rachel Lawrence Lupton will be serving as one of the co-chairs for that committee, as well as Carol Olszewski. And that committee is meeting tomorrow, and I'm just very grateful for all who have. The response was really, really positive in terms of people who wanted to be involved in that work. So it's going to be exciting to see what comes from that. All right, strategic planning. You know, one of the songs that came up today was A Long and Winding Road, and strategic planning has definitely been that. I think one of the historical slides said that I think Angie started us, or was it Lisa that started us in strategic planning back in 2010? Angie, was it you? You did it. I know you did it. I don't know if it was Lisa or Angie, but I know it was a long time ago. And we're continuing that process, right? And I think it's really exciting to see things coming to fruition. So, you know, I've been reflecting a lot on this. We've learned a lot, but we have a lot more to learn. And we recognize that. This committee that has been working is very aware of that. We have a lot to learn from our community and from members of our affinity groups that are members of our community as well. We have a lot to learn from other professions and groups around us as well. We want to hear from, I feel like we've heard from a lot of people with our survey, but we have more to hear from, our students and our interns, and as I said, the affinity groups. And those that choose not to be a part of AMTA at this time, how do we bring them into the conversations and make sure that we can offer support to them as well as music therapists? And one of the things is I know that we have strengths to build on, but we also have a lot of room for growth, and we have a lot of room for things that we can improve on. And so being mindful of that as we make this plan. And finally, with that, we have our strengths, but we're committed to eliminating the structures and the governance systems that have been oppressive and have been harmful to others. We continue to learn, and we continue to make mistakes, and we're going to need to continue to take ownership of those mistakes. So my goal for you here is, first, I want to make a very, very big thank you on this next slide here. I'm not sure if any of these folks are in the room, but if they are, they should stand on their chairs to be recognized, not just stand up. But all of these folks have been involved in the strategic planning process since January of 2022. And it's just been a really wonderful group of people. They often meet late at night, right? Like much of the volunteers that meet in all of our associations, right? After a long day of work, like I said, challenging discussions, teasing things out, brainstorming, bouncing ideas off of each other, thinking outside the box. And so I really want to make sure that we say thank you to this group of people. So if you are in the room and you've been a part of this process, please stand and be recognized. So if you know any of these people and you have feedback on the strategic plan, these are people to talk to because they have had a hand in the writing of everything. So I want to let you know as we go forward here, the next task, or the task that we've completed with this process. We began meeting in January of 2022, and then we completed a SWOT analysis. If you can advance to the next slide, Allison, that'd be awesome. No, you're good. And We did a SWOT analysis. We broke it into subgroups with several different areas of interest. And then we analyzed all that information. We created and drafted and brainstormed on mission and vision and core values. We created a survey, which was a little competitive. Anybody remember which state won? Wisconsin. Oh, Indiana won second place, right? I think I misspoke earlier today. I apologize. Yikes. So yeah, Wisconsin won because they had the most participants, and they got a little bit of money from the GLR in doing so. So that was exciting for them. And but we realized that of the almost 2,000 music therapists in the region, we only had about 434 reply. Now, I felt good about that number, but I know that there's more voices that we want to connect with. Interestingly enough, you'll see in other information, you might see that there was about 50-50 split in terms of responses from AMTA members and those that are not AMT members. So we definitely have more people to connect with in that regards. So as we went along with that process, we analyzed the survey. We looked at the themes that were emerging, the short and long-term goals were objectives were drafted. And we also created a focus group that is meeting at this conference that will be gearing it's a group of folks that our strategic planning team recommended to bring into the conversation additional voices, some with different intersectionalities. And we want them to have a chance to really weigh in and think about and look at and examine deeply the proposed strategic plan. So you're going to see, and how many of you had got the email this week? Let me see. Yes? Is MailChimp working? Okay, so what day was that? That was Tuesday. Tuesday? I've lost track of my days. Tuesday, an email was sent out. It would have come from the GLR, I believe, yes. So if you haven't found it, go back and look. It could be in your spam. But it's an email that does include the new guiding statements that have been proposed by the strategic planning team. And it also includes links to view the proposed strategic planning draft. So I want to remind you that as we go to the next slide here, vision and mission, right? What do these mean for us? So a vision statement, they're designed to inspire, while a mission statement, on the other hand, is intended to inform people. Kind of inspire. What do we want to accomplish? And mission, how are we going to do it? A vision statement describes where we're going. Where do we want to be down the road? The big picture. The pie in the sky kind of thing, while mission statements explain how we're going to get there. And then our core values, which we'll see, the group really talked about using these as the guiding statements for any, kind of the guideposts, I should say, for any of the decisions we make on programming, initiatives, how we're going to spend our money, what we're going to do, all those types of things. So without further ado, I share with you the proposed statements and guiding statements. On the left, you'll see the GLR vision that is proposed. A music therapy culture that inspires ongoing growth of music therapists, their networks, and the profession. The proposed GLR mission, which will have to be voted on because it's a part of our bylaws, that is proposed as this: to create an inclusive, equitable, accessible, and informed community of diverse music therapy partners across the Great Lakes region. And truly, at our core, we believe that our core values are accountability, belonging, community, growth, and integrity. So, those words, we don't want them to be hollow. We don't want those words to just be words. And so on the next slides, you'll see that the strategic planning team has spent a lot of time teasing out what is included in each of those core values. So if we go to the next slide, you'll see that our first core value is accountability. And with that, we commit to fostering a safe and transparent environment through open communication, collaboration, and responsible actions. As we move to belonging, we strive to foster both individual acceptance and value by working to be diverse, inclusive, accessible, and equitable. We strive to have community, and we courageously advocate for and value our colleagues, those we serve and those we partner with, through value and celebration of individuality, collaboration, and connectivity. Growth within our community and our profession as a whole, we support holistic self-growth of individuals through active listening, ongoing education, and humble reflection. And finally, integrity. To cultivate dignity and trust, we are guided by our ethics and strive to act with humility, reflection, honesty, reflexivity, and courage. So these are listed here today in alphabetical order. The group has discussed many, many times, is there one of these that is more or less important? And this group pretty much landed on the fact that depending on what the situation is, they ebb and flow, right? They're all crucial. And so we've listed them in alphabetical order, but that is by no means a hierarchy in the way that they are listed, okay? So here's the deal. We want your input. If you are a student, if you are an intern, if you are working in our region, and in any capacity, we want your input. I'm very confident, especially after working with this team for the past how many ever months, that we can change the landscape of the GLR in a pretty transformative way. Our journey has been long. You know, we're at 70 years. I think next year we celebrate our official 70th. Well, this is our 70th conference. And our path has been winding, right? There's been cliffs. There's been, you know, a few rock slides. There's been switchbacks. There's been some detours. There's not a lot of guardrails at times, right? But like any journey, part of the experience is who you're with on that journey. So we want to hear from you. And we're committed to this journey. And I can tell you that the group that's been working tirelessly is very committed to this journey. And the leadership team as well, I believe, is on board with that. So as a reminder, it's not just AMTA members that we want to hear from in this, because we believe in the community of the GLR being everyone that works and lives and resides here. So I encourage you to hit the QR code. And if you can't do it right now, you know, take time to read the statements and to look over the draft. We'll probably keep that QR or the Google form open, my guess is until at least the end of the month. And then that'll give the strategic planning the team a little bit of a break. And then we'll kind of get back into it in April and the spring months. And we'll look and we'll review things. And we'll take it to the board in probably May or June. And the plan is to roll this strategic plan out July 1st. It'll be a 3-year plan. And we will go ahead and have short-term goals that we will look to achieve between July 1st of 2023 all the way to June 30th of 2024. And then we'll update those goals as needed, okay? So I encourage you to share your feedback, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say, good or bad. All right, so next, GLR calls for service. And I'm like the QR code queen. I've never made so many QR codes in my life than I did this week. But anyway, so there's a call for service. You can see that we have several committees that are in need of representation to AMTA right now from the GLR. We also have some GLR level committees that we are looking to do some work with. And we welcome any and all who want to participate. And so this call for service, you're going to see this kind of lists everything. And it could be really overwhelming to look at that call for service. But I want you to remember that some of the jobs are smaller than others, right? If you're interested in volunteering, just reaching out to someone who might be involved already is a great way to get connected if you're interested. Our bylaws do state that if you're wanting to be a representative to an AMTA committee, then AMTA membership is required. But anyone who wants to participate in the GLR local committees, that is certainly open to everyone, okay? And finally, again, Leadership Academy. I feel like I'm not that old, but I really am. And I've been at this service thing for a while, and I'm realizing that it really was the result of some people kind of hooking me in to a leadership role, right, when I was younger. And some of those people are in this room, and I hope they realize what an impact they had on me. But I'm really hopeful that we can start to nurture and develop the leaders of the future for the GLR. And so this, one of the things that I'll be doing as past president is working to set up a leadership academy to help nurture future leaders in the GLR. And so tomorrow I have free coffee for you if you're interested at 8:30, just to learn more about different opportunities, right? And we're going to develop a cohort and some trainings that will begin later on this summer is the plan. We're looking to really nurture leadership skills that will be beneficial to you, maybe in this role, in the service-minded role of the profession and the association, but also to you professionally in your work, right? A lot of those things carry over. I've heard that from many of our folks that are in leadership positions, that those skills really are helpful to them in their workplace as well. So I ask you to consider sharing your interests and your time and your talent and skills. So this is a volunteer form that if you're interested in getting involved and engaged, then let us know, okay? No job too small to do that. You can all get involved. And finally, a GLR calendar. So I'm excited to say this QR code is the link to, I know I told you I was like QR queen, right? Are you laughing? She is. Anyway, so there is now a live calendar on the GLR website. Many thanks to Julie Palmieri for that. And the GLR president account will manage that calendar. And there will now be some Google Forms where we will get those up on the website in the coming weeks that will allow for community members, state associations, and organizations to say, hey, I'm having a CMTE. Can you help broadcast that? Right? Hey, we're having a meeting. Can you help broadcast that? And it also will list all of the GLR meetings that occur so that people know what's happening behind the scenes. And there's a level of transparency to kind of show what's happening behind the scenes. So with that, the only other piece that I would like to do today is one of our executive committee members will not be with us tomorrow during our business meeting. And unfortunately, she is stepping away after many, many, many years of service as our website coordinator. And so, Julie, I'd like for you to stand, please. Anybody who knows the GLR knows that we have had quite a web presence. We have snazzy graphics. We've got a branding color kit. And I don't think it can be said enough or really emphasized enough to the impact that Julie's skills and talent and passion for communicating has had for this group and for this region. You have left very, very big shoes to fill, and we will be calling you to, I don't know how to do this. Help me, Julie. But no, even in the past 2 weeks, I've learned so many things from Julie. She's a great teacher, kind of guiding us. But I really want to say thank you to you from the bottom of my heart as a friend, as a colleague, and as just a partner on this journey. Thank you for all your service. All right, so that's the end of my report. Come find me if you have anything else that you might need to ask me or questions. And at this point in time, Becca, are we able to do time of remembrance today, or do you want? Yep, perfect. Okay, so I invite past president. No, never mind. We're just gonna watch. Thank you.
As we gather here to celebrate today, bathed in memories of those who passed this way, we're reflections of our directions, those we've known and grown from on the way. Join us as we celebrate today. Listen to our hearts and they will say, as our love takes to the wind and flies, we celebrate these lives. We celebrate these lives.
We offer up our great gratitude to this group of professionals and students and colleagues who left their mark with us. All right, President-elect Todd Schwartz, are we waiting till tomorrow? Okay, we're waiting till tomorrow on the his report. And so, Lindsay, I think you're up.
Hello, everyone. Oh, it's like so bright. Can't see faces. Okay, so thanks everybody for being here. Just a quick treasurer report. Thank you so much. All right, a couple things of note that I really want to point out as we start. So GLR, Melaine mentioned that GLR has an accountant now that we are contracted with. So we had started doing QuickBooks, and I had been entering everything into QuickBooks. And now our accountant is doing that. Our accountant is sending out the 1099s. So it's really nice to have the expertise of a professional dealing with our taxes, making sure that our books are all correct, and making sure that we have that historical record that we need to for possible audits and all of that in the future. So it's very exciting. Speaking of 1099s, all of our 1099s were filed by January 31st, which is the deadline for the 2022 fiscal year. Additionally, so somebody reached out to us and asked for our sam.gov entity number, and we didn't know what that was. So we researched it a little bit, and we found that if you work for a government entity, to be reimbursed for continuing ed, you need this number to submit, so that way you get that reimbursement from your employer. So we went through the steps to get that sam.gov number, so we are now listed. That used to be called the DUNS number, and I guess they transitioned everything over a couple years ago. I see a nodding head. It was news to me, but now we have that, so if anybody needs to get that reimbursement, now you can. Additionally, I want to point out that we have conflict of interest forms going out for all of the officers for the 2023 year. We each time we do taxes, we have to answer a ton of conflict of interest questions because we're a 501c3. So we need to be able to always know if there are possible conflicts of interest. So when you receive that form in your email, please respond. And don't be afraid. If there is a potential conflict of interest, we just put extra thought into how to, maybe you abstain from certain votes. Maybe we put special pieces in place to ensure that there's no conflict of interest in the eyes of the IRS. Additionally, bank account transitions have started. So Todd and Allison are now on our accounts, and by the end of March, all those transitions will have taken place with our Fifth Third accounts. Finally, this is my last business meeting, so Angeline McRoberts is going to be taking over. She's raising both of her hands. So she'll be onboarding into this position in the next few weeks, and so you'll see her the next time we have a business meeting. All right, so here's our balance sheet, and this shows the end of each fiscal year. So it's right now the accounts would be confusing because we're in the middle of a conference and we haven't actually paid all of the hotel expenses yet. So it makes us look like we're doing a little bit better than we are. So if you look at the end of each tax year, that's a little better guide to see where we are as an organization. We are doing very well. You can see that our balance has decreased. That was because we profited for a couple years. And so we wanted to give back to our membership, and you'll see that in our expenses here in a moment. So here's a stacked column graph to show our assets in our different accounts. So you can see those are spread out. The orange is our Morgan Stanley investment. It did go down a little bit. I think, all investments went down in 2022. It's already starting to come back up again, so that's exciting. Here's our expenses and revenue in 2022 in a beautiful waterfall graph. So you can see our revenue, our biggest revenue is conference. We also, the membership dues is another larger revenue item, as well as continuing education. For our expenses, again, the biggest expense is conference. And an in-person conference will be more expensive, but it's so much fun. We also spent almost $20,000 in awards trying to give back to the music therapists in our region in the 2022 year. So that's where we used a lot of that extra money that had been profits to try to give back to our community. And here's 2023. So this is our budget for this coming year. As you can see, we do have a projected loss. We are very conservative, so what looks like a pretty big loss will probably be about a third of that, because we are very conservative budgeters here in the GLR. Our biggest line items, again, conference expenses and conference revenue. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, or if it's a few weeks from now, it might be Angeline. But always, we want to be very transparent. So does anybody have a question about our finances? All right, crickets. Thank you.
Thank you. She has been so good and calm and just thorough, and she's amazing. I hope you all get the chance to interact with her in some capacity. All right, so flip over here. Okay, so I believe at this point, I want to check my time. So it is 6:48. Our meeting tonight is slated to go the hour. And I know that tonight we have President Lori Gooding with us. And so I do want to invite her up to the podium to share a few words with us. So please welcome Dr. Gooding.
Hi, everyone. It's good to see you, although it is really cold here. I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you so much. This is my first in-person conference of 2023, so thank you. We've been attending some of the other conferences. Angie and a group of folks represented AMTA at the MAR region last week, while I was at a conference called the Lake Nona Health Impact Forum. Which is a huge forum of healthcare leaders, and I was able to have some great conversations about music therapy and its value, and I hope to have, in the not-so-distant future, some follow-ups with that. So, and then next week I'll be going to SER, and look forward to connecting with them, because that's my home region, and it will be warmer than it is here. So today I'm not going to take too much time, but I do want to highlight a few things just to draw your attention to it. And first and foremost is the videos that were just released about a week ago. There are 3, just one kind of a general overview with myself and Leslie Henry, your very own Leslie, and Brian Jantz, and then 2 that were beautifully done by Leslie that give incredible amounts of detail for the 2022 budget and the 2023 budget. And so just a very high overview of that in terms of the 2023. That's the one I want to focus on. We worked really hard to have a balanced budget. And we are looking to diversify streams of income because our focus is really to move away from funding the association through membership. And it's going to take some time to do that, but that is what we're focusing on. And for example, we are actively seeking a grant that Leslie and I just got an email from today. And so that is another thing that I hope to have information for you in the next couple of weeks. And that one's really exciting. If we are able to get that grant would fund a website overhaul. It would also fund a new database, and it would potentially fund staffing for communications. So we're really excited about that because those infrastructure pieces really impact our ability to do things like installments for membership dues, as an example. And so having modern technology and modern infrastructure will really change what we're able to do at the association level. We are on target for our membership. We did project a decline, and it has declined. It has been declining, as Leslie shared, it has been declining for many, many years. So that has been an ongoing trend, and we're going to be looking at some ways to really take better care of our community, some ways to change how we message what we do as an association, and change how you engage and continue to work to change how you all engage with the association and how we engage with you so that we can provide more care. We're going to be releasing a call for volunteers very shortly. Angie and I are working on that with a few other people, and that will be coming out, we hope, in the next 7 to 10 days is our target. It'll have 2 sections, one section dedicated to DEIAJ based on the motions passed at the end of 2022, and another broader call for volunteer opportunities. And some of those will be things like Leslie's former council coordinator position now that she's moved into the treasurer role. And others will be short-term targeted ways to engage. So for example, I just mentioned grants. If grant writing is something that you are passionate about and want to engage in, then we would love to have people connect with that. So we're going to be expanding what it means to engage, to hopefully better find things that people are invested in and find ways that you can engage both in short and long-term opportunities. Hold on, let me get my phone back up here. Okay. Another really exciting thing is we are continuing to work to transition away from the New Point advisors that we've been using since May of 2022. And we are actively engaging with an organization called Maryland Nonprofits. Now, hopefully you were able to attend or watch the video of one of the fall meetings where Carmen Marshall came and talked to us. And we have been able to enter into membership because Maryland Nonprofits is a membership organization for nonprofits. And so what they do is, as an equity-focused organization, they provide a range of services for their members at a discounted rate to help us do what we do as nonprofit associations. And we actually found out about them through our connections with the other creative arts therapies organizations. So they work with, I think it's art therapy maybe, and dance movement therapy, and a few others as well. We are still working to determine what they're going to be doing for and with us, but it's a range of services, everything from operations, website management, that sort of thing, to when we're able to strategic planning, governance, board and leadership development, a number of different things. So as we have a better idea, they're going to be presenting a package to us in the next week. As we have a better idea, we'll be coming to you with more information about what it is that we'll be doing in terms of engaging with Maryland Nonprofits. I also want to just give you a little bit of an update about the Assembly. And many of you, if you're on the Assembly, have been getting information from Brian and from Spencer, Brian Jantz and Spencer Hardy, our speaker and assistant speaker. They're having a number of conversations about what the Assembly is going to be doing this year as we continue to work to form more collaborative relationships and have the assembly take a bigger role in what's happening in the association. So Brian and Spencer, as well as Mia and Kevin Bach, and all of the assembly members really are working to really think through what 2023 is going to look like in order to better engage the assembly and to better engage in the work of the association. All right. And then I think just the last thing to really think about in terms of us as we continue to connect is to please reach out if you have questions, reach out if you have ideas. You have many board members from your region. And let's see, I know Angie's here, so Angie, will you stand up? Mia, I saw somewhere. Mia, Chelsea, are you here too? And Chelsea. So please, they do fabulous work. Please reach out to them and any of the board members, but you have them in your own region. Please reach out and make sure that if you have questions or ideas or thoughts that you connect with them or any of us for that matter, and we'll be happy. We welcome that and we want to hear that. So thank you for being so welcoming at my first GLR conference, and thank you for giving me this time to speak.
And just I wanted to say on behalf of the region, I know that it's exciting to have in-person conference. It's great to have you here. And if those that are board members, I think it's important that I want to make sure that we publicly and that the minutes reflect a very public thank you and moment of appreciation for all of the time that you have put in roles that you didn't necessarily anticipate that was what was going to happen, right? None of us really. Nobody had the crystal ball. But I just want to say a very heartfelt thank you for all that you've done. I know the toll that service during this time can take and the sacrifices that are made. And so thank you to each of you that are serving in those roles on the AMTA board. Thank you very much. So I'm mindful of time. But there are a couple of things that we have to get done today because of the way things are written in our bylaws. As you know, the slate is open for GLR assembly delegates and alternates. And the way that our bylaws currently read, the past president gets that slate ready and has to propose it one day, and then the next day for it to close. So I will. What? Right. Yes. Can you come up to? Yeah. So she's going to come up and take this over. President-elect, or past, ooh, sorry. Ooh. Well, that was fun. All right, past.
If I'm president-elect, you know what that makes you.
No. All right, so past President Rebecca Barnard.
As much as I would love that, I really would. So we're actually, this is actually going to be quick, because I'm going to kind of talk to you about the slate. We're going to open the floor for nominations tomorrow, and then we'll vote to close the slate. But I wanted to talk to you real quick about it so you kind of knew, so you had 24 hours to think about it. So some of you may be like, yes, I've been in the GLR a long time. I know what the Assembly of Delegates is. And some of you may be new professionals and be like, I don't know what that is, and kind of what is that, and can you tell me? And I'm kind of intrigued. So let me tell you a little bit of what it is and try and make it sound exciting, because it is actually kind of exciting, and I will admit, a little bit scary. I remember as my first time going and being like, oh my goodness, and then it kind of got better. So the Assembly of Delegates, it is the legislative and policy-making body of AMTA, and its primary purpose is to reflect the interests and needs of the membership regarding how the association operates. That is the very technical definition. Notice I brought my phone so I could say it correctly. So the GLR has 16 seats. Yeah, awesome, go GLR. And one seat is automatically given to the president, so that leaves us with 15 spots. So the 15 members are voted on by GLR membership. So those of you who are GLR members, in a couple months, will probably be getting an email from Melaine for a vote. But we also need alternates. So if you're not elected as a seated delegate, you may be asked to be an alternate. And that happens when a seated member cannot be in attendance. We may call on you and say, hey, can you come? And so we can fill our 15 seats. It's important that we have that voice. So it's important for us to have all 16 seats full. It's been really cool over the last couple of years. And one of the amazing things that kind of came out of the pandemic, and I know we don't talk about that a lot, amazing and pandemic in the same sentence, unless you're my husband and who's talking about how much he loves that he can now pick up food contact free, doesn't have to talk to anybody. But usually we don't talk amazing and pandemic. But what it has happened is Assembly now not only meets at the national conference, but also on Zoom. And oh my goodness, it's exhausting sometimes, but so amazing to not feel like you have to cram everything in. And so there could be some in-person calls, and there could also be some Zoom calls. So currently, membership in AMTA is required to run for Assembly. And what I just want to quickly do is tomorrow we will open up the floor to people who may be interested, but I want anybody who has currently on the Assembly or who has served on the Assembly to stand. If you've served on the Assembly in another region, I'm looking at you, Karen Miller, you stand too, because these are the people, if you're like, hey, I kind of want to know what this is about, these are the people to track down, and I promise they're all very approachable. There's no dumb questions, right? They're all very approachable people, and ask them what it is. Ask them what it's about. Ask them what they like about it. Ask them, why do you do this? Why do you do these meetings till 9 o'clock at night? Because it's a really great way to be involved, and it's a really great way to learn about your profession and make that impact. So look around real quick. You saw those people. Catch them and ask them about it. Know that tomorrow we will have a chance to open the floor for nominations.
Thank you. And definitely consider giving back in that way. It's a neat opportunity for people that might be newer to the profession to really have time with people that have served in different ways, right? It's a great mentoring opportunity too. It's just a really neat opportunity. All right, so we are going to put the meeting agenda on hold basically until tomorrow. I want you to all be able to have time with your friends and community and colleagues tonight, but Allison has raffle information. So we joked around last night when we were in the back of the room. This is like a vision test as well as, a number test.
It's true.
It is.
That is
The
true.
font is a lot bigger tonight, though.
I tried.
Yes.
Here are the winners. 133705, 133721, 133690, 133782, and 133717. Find Leanne in the back for your, drawing prize. We are good with the government on the taxes. I know Kelly won. That's not fair. But we hope that you enjoy the new way of doing the raffle, so we're not up here drawing and reading names, right? All right. Have fun.
All right, so tomorrow morning, remember there's leadership coffee, and we will continue on tomorrow night. Please come to the meeting tomorrow night, because tomorrow night we hear from our state representatives, and I want you all to hear what's happening in all 6 of our fabulous states. So have a great night. I don't think I need to do I need to do anything? Okay, so have a great night. Take care, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Welcome